The regular X2 or medium is finally here, and I can say that it has been expected. I reviewed the mini and there were some things that I would have liked to change, but I was hoping that the medium would fix those for me. So in terms of shape, it's of course larger version of the mini, so it's 4mm longer, 2mm wider and 1mm higher profile. These dimensional changes make the medium feel quite a bit wider and also higher profile than the mini. And of course it's also longer, but the most noticeable differences are the width and the height difference to the mini. Looking at the features of the shape, those are of course similar to the mini, so basically the mouse flares out little to not at all towards the front and the back, and the sides are fairly flat just like in the Superlight and not at all like in the XM1. The mouse is also quite oval shaped in terms of the highest point and the hump, meaning that it's easy to drive deep into your palm or just comfortably hold between these hand meats because the mouse is not that wide from the back. This actually gives you quite a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to claw grip the mouse, so any kind of hybrid claw, pincher claw, aggressive claw or relaxed claw is completely possible, mainly because of the location of the hump and the back of the mouse is not that wide. So I would say the regular or the medium is much more optimal for a claw grip if you have at least medium or large sized hands, or for example 19x10cm hands as I do. For small hands and claw grip, I think the medium might be too wide for many of you, and then again for fingertip grip the mini feels amazing, so I would recommend for that in any case. Let's move on to features and the quality of the mouse, and then we will talk about my in-game performance, and of course we have some comparisons. For build quality, the X2 is actually better than the X2 mini that I had. The X2 mini had some minimal side flex, but the X2 has nothing whatsoever, and there is also no creaking and pretty much no rattle at all. Also the coating on the surface finish does seem to be a little bit better on the white version. It may be placebo, but I kinda want to think that this feels a little bit more premium, but still not on the level of Waxy, Zowie and Superlight and LethalGamingGear coatings for example. The sensor of course is the 3395 and I found no real issues, but the performance is nothing magical, so it still does lose to the Superlight and the Viper V2 Pro for motion delay and click latency. The mouse feet are very good as the experience is quite smooth and fast on my HAUS version 2, which is one of the better pads to test the mouse feet quality, as some worse feet feel quite rough with this surface, but for example the X2 feet feel smooth. The click feel is a little bit heavier on my medium as it was on the mini, but these are still light enough so they are good for spamming and they feel responsive. There is some pre-travel and some post-travel, but overall the click feeling is good. There is minimal wobble, but when I hold the buttons down and move them there is some creaking, and I do feel this sometimes when I'm tracking an opponent. It's not that bad that it would distract me in game or ruin the click feeling when I'm holding down the mouse 1, but it still makes the click feel a little bit cheap. I would say it's still somewhat situational because I do not feel it at all times when I'm holding down mouse 1. The side buttons feel very nice on my regular X2 as they did on the mini, barely any travel and the click feeling is crispy, and they are also well located for my hand size and grip style. And the scroll wheel feels pretty much the same as on the X2 mini and the Superlight, so it's somewhat light but still has defined steps. The shape of the X2 is fairly unique, but of course we do have some comparisons. The most similar shape in my opinion is the cheaper OX Superlight, as these both have fairly minimal curvature on the sides and the sides are vertically flat. The hump is one of the biggest differences for me, so there is more palm contact with the X2 than with the Superlight, and that is due to the hump being more pronounced and more towards the back of the mouse, whereas from the back the Superlight starts quite aggressively sloping up, but then suddenly quite gradually slopes up to the middle where the highest point is. This makes it so that when I claw the Superlight, most contact to my palm is all the way on the back of the mouse and the bottom of my palm, whereas with the X2 there is most contact on the middle area of my palm. To my surprise, the X2 also feels wide compared to the Superlight. I actually measured the difference from where the sensor is located and it's actually quite a bit wider. This combined with more palm contact, it does give you that bulky feeling in hand. The shape of the X2 was thought to be fairly similar to the XM1, but the XM1 just has a much wider hump and the back of the mouse is wider as well, and also the sides on the mouse are quite diagonal, and there is much more curvature than in the X2. The only similarity pretty much for me is that the hump is similarly located, but because the width is so different in the humps, the hand feel is just very different and there is more palm contact with the XM1. The Zowie S2 has somewhat similar feel, so the hump is similarly located. Both have a good amount of room vertically on the sides, but again, there is more curvature on the S2. But depending on your grip style, the palm contact can be very similar, so if you aggressive claw both of these mice, the most contact will be on the bottom of your palm. But then again, if you have more of a relaxed claw, there will be more contact on the middle of your palm with the X2 than there is with the S2. Initially, I have to say that I wasn't very impressed about the X2 shape. I basically just would have wanted to see the Mini to be a little bit longer or a little bit higher profile. Now the medium or the regular just feels quite a bit bulky, especially with the flat sides and no curvature at all here. But then I did go in game and I was hitting my shots very well in Apex and CSGO. And in aim trainers the mouse felt also quite good. Although it is bulky, I had good mobility and it was easy to perform vertical motion, so I had easy time to controlling recoil in Apex and CSGO. And then again, even if I had that good mobility, I still had very precise flicks and taps in CSGO. I did enjoy using it in game, and because it is larger than the Mini and quite a bit more comfortable, I had a much better time using it for longer periods than the Mini, so I did not get any kind of discomfort whatsoever. Although with the Mini I got very minimal discomfort, but there is at least some when I played for 2 hours straight. In terms of overall quality and feel, it does lose to the more premium options because of the clicks and the coding in my opinion. Otherwise it's a very good mouse, as it does have some of the best mouse feet I've tried, and the value for money is at least good at 100 euros for this mouse. Overall I would say that I am happy with the Mini and the medium, but there was so much hype which I kind of do not understand. I mean, PULSAR has always made good mice, like for example the X-Lite version 2 Mini and the X-Lite version 2, but the biggest reason why PULSAR competes with the best is the price. The value is of course a little bit worse now, so these cost 100 euros or $95. But as the Viper V2 Pro and the Deathra V3 Pro for example is 150 bucks. So I would say that these are great value, but let's not forget that the Superlight is often available for that 90 euros or 90 bucks. And that is truly great value for money. It may not end up being my main mouse because there are shapes that I like more and mice that I aim better with. Xtrfy M42 and the Vaxi XE are some of the most recent mice that I perform extremely well with. Check out the reviews right here. And then some other mouse and mousepad related content right here. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.